Now available. Paperback and Kindle Unlimited. ISIS, the main event. It's carnage inside of a steel cage when the goddess next door steps in the squared circle with the beast from the boss in this action-packed all-new ISIS series adventure. Get ISIS, the main event, paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. Recently, former WWE head Vince McMahon staged a hostile takeover of his company, World Wrestling Entertainment. Now, Vince McMahon had been unceremoniously removed from his position as CEO and chairman of WWE after it was revealed that he had used money from the organization to pay off women that as related to alleged sexual assaults and sexual violence and alleged affairs that he had participated in over the years. And after this scandal came about, your Vince McMahon was forced to resign by the current board of directors, who insisted that Nick Khan and Stephanie McMahon be co-CEOs and insisted that John Paul Levesque take over as head of creative. Unfortunately, Vince McMahon was not happy with being unceremoniously removed from power and then used his power as the chairman of the board to go out here and force a hostile takeover of the company, going out here and installing 3 of his own hand-picked members to take back over WWE and vote him back in as the chairman of the board and have him be in charge of the organization. Now, as your Vince McMahon has gone out here and taken control over the company, he is now looking to create a sale of WWE to individuals who are interested in purchasing the organization. Now, it's been rumored that WWE has been sold in principle to Saudi Arabia, and once the announcement of that sale took place, many people on social media exploded in rage because they saw that the organization of WWE was no longer in the hands of the McMahon family. Now, when I take a critical examination of Vince McMahon's decision to sell WWE, it fits right in line with the pattern and profile of behavior of your baby boomers. Now, many of your baby boomers, they have a mindset of, I've got mine, screw you. And what your Vince McMahon is doing is screwing his daughter right out of the family business. Because your Vince McMahon, by going out here and selling WWE out from under Stephanie McMahon and John Paul Levesque, is what he's doing is looking to take away his family business, because he's afraid that Stephanie and John Paul Levesque won't be able to maintain the legacy that he established. This is an insecurity that many baby boomers have. They fear that the next generation won't carry on the legacy, so what they want to do is sell what they've built to a major corporation and believe that that major corporation will go out here and maintain their legacy better than their own children. This is a really form of spellbound thinking, that they think that, oh, corporate America will go out here and protect their assets, not understanding that corporate America does not go out here and protect a family's assets, because a family business, the way you maintain it is by maintaining the family's standards, and the only way you can learn about a family business is if you're a part of the family. And that was something that John Paul Levesque was working hard for, because he had a passion for wrestling, and what he wanted to do is protect the legacy of wrestling by marrying into the McMahon family. Unfortunately, Vince McMahon was so caught up in somebody else running his business that he could not trust his own son-in-law to go out here and maintain a family business, one that he inherited from Vince McMahon Sr., but because he's a baby boomer who was given everything, he does not appreciate the hard work of his father, and even worse, he doesn't even appreciate his own hard work. Moreover, he doesn't appreciate the hard work his son-in-law and daughter have done to maintain his family business. But this, sadly, is par for the course with many baby boomers who see getting theirs as more important than preserving a family's legacy, a family's business, and making sure that a business goes on for the next generation to be passed on to the next generation. And that's how you maintain wealth in a family. Unfortunately, Vince McMahon is so caught up in being rich that he doesn't understand the importance of maintaining and preserving wealth. So that's why he wants to sell out his family business to the highest bidder. And part of selling that business to the highest bidder, I believe, is because your Vince McMahon is caught up in his feelings about the wrestling business changing, and because he's caught up in his feelings about the wrestling business changing and not meeting his old standards, he's out here looking to sabotage his own business, not understanding the damage he's doing to a business that has been established by his father, and doing damage to his future generations, because Stephanie's children, they would possibly go on to further build the business, but because he doesn't understand what's going on, because many baby boomers, they take life for granted. They take what their parents have built for granted. They don't appreciate what their parents have given them. They look to sell it away, thinking, oh, I'm going to have all this money. But no, you've basically pissed away your entire legacy to corporate oligarchs who will go out here and destroy what you have built, because what you built doesn't mean anything to them. It doesn't matter to them. It's just another asset in their catalog, and that's what's happened to many creators and their work. They sell it off, and then it becomes a pale caricature of its former self. And WWE was starting to become a very pale caricature of its former self under Vince McMahon, because your Vince McMahon wanted to go out here and push wrestlers in a very poor fashion. He was holding on to archaic ideas about sports entertainment, and he was out here making a mess of WWE. And over the last couple of years, the product was not good at all. I can look at Austin Theory as an example of this, because Austin Theory, under Vince McMahon, was a wrestler who was very much struggling as a character, and his character struggled even though Vince McMahon had pushed him, gave him the money in the bank, gave him the United States Championship. He could not get over, because your Vince McMahon did things like change his name to Theory. He went out here and gave him a bad gimmick. He booked him very poorly. However, that same wrestler under Triple H has really grown as a wrestler, and Triple H brilliantly went out here and had it where Austin Theory lost the money in the bank, and then reinvented Theory's character, and the character got over in less than 3 weeks. And that shows the brilliance of John Paul Levesque as related to the business. He reinvented a wrestler who most people didn't want to see for over a year, even though he had been given everything. And one of the reasons why nobody wanted to see Theory was because we never got to know him as a character. We never got to see his story grow and progress. And that was because your Vince McMahon was forcing this character down people's throats instead of letting people get to know this character organically and letting us find out why we should care about this character. But your Vince McMahon didn't care about that because he was caught up in his feelings. Oh, he's going to make Theory a star his way, when Austin Theory could have been a star in an organic fashion. And this is why your Vince McMahon is so upset, because the business of wrestling has changed and he no longer knows what is so great about it. One time, your Vince McMahon was a master guru as related to wrestling. He ushered in the rock and wrestling era, and while he had a short slump period with the new generation era, he managed to bring things back for the attitude era and the ruthless aggression era. And he could have just passed the business on and let Triple H take over the business, take over the creative. Unfortunately, his ego won't let him let somebody else take over, because if you are somebody who is humble in the business, you know when it's time to pass the baton on to the next man. That's something any creator, even myself, knows. There comes a point where you have to go out here and pass the baton over to the next generation. And you have to trust that you've taught the next generation everything that they need to know in order to continue to let the business thrive. There comes a point where you have to go out here and hand that baton over to that next man and let that next man go on to take things to the next level. Unfortunately, here in America, we have a problem because we have these baby boomers, and these baby boomers insist on staying in positions of power because they fear anybody from Gen X coming in and taking over. They fear that we won't be able to go out here and maintain these institutions. But when I look at Triple H, he has shown that a Gen Xer can take over and maintain a business. He has shown that he can go out here and continue providing people with quality sports entertainment. And he's shown that he can transition from a wrestler to a businessman, and a businessman with a great vision for the business, because he basically turned WWE around, gave us very compelling storylines, gave us very compelling characters, booked very fantastic matches. I mean, when I look at Triple H's WWE, it's a far better show than Vince McMahon's last days, where we were just stuck in Roman Reigns for the next 20 years, which is Roman Mania, as I call it, because he's booking him like Hulk Hogan and not understanding the audience today. We don't want Hulk Hogan. We want characters for today. We want, because wrestling has changed and evolved, and that's another thing baby boomers don't understand, because I see the same problem in Hollywood. You want to hold on to your ideas and your stories, but it's time for some new stories and some new characters, because this generation, they want their own wrestlers. They want their own type of story. They want their own type of story paradigm. Unfortunately, when you have a baby boomer in charge, they want to hold on to the business, and if they can't get theirs emotionally, they want to screw everybody. And as they screw everybody, they want to go out here and take their money and walk away and leave a business in the hands of somebody else, just to spite those who passionately care about it. And that's why so many on social media were angry when they heard Vince had sold WWE to the Saudis, because the business was doing well under Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. And your Triple H and Stephanie McMahon truly care about the wrestling business, and this was a slap in the face at them, because they didn't really do anything wrong except love this business. But Vince was so angry because his dirty laundry led to him being forced out, and now he wants to go out here and force the business to go away, because he can't deal with the fact that he was in the wrong, and he doesn't want to do right by the business. So that's why he wants to sell the business to the Saudis. And if he sells the business to the Saudis, I believe that's going to be the biggest mistake he could ever make, because while he gets his money, wrestling fans get screwed. And as he sells the business to the Saudis, they're going to basically gut the business, and that's going to lead to many wrestling fans walking away from WWE, because one of the things I notice about wrestling, again, is a lot of the white males out here, they identify with these wrestlers, and I also identify with the idea of a white person owning the WWE, the number one wrestling business. And if they don't see a white male running things, they're going to walk away from this business. Moreover, many of the wrestlers are going to walk away from the Saudi ownership, because while many Saudis love wrestling and WWE, many wrestlers don't want to go out here and work for that business, because they believe that they would be hampered as related to storylines, they would be hampered as related to characters, they would be hampered as related to booking, and moreover, worse, what would happen is that with Saudi ownership, many of the Saudis, I believe, would not understand how a wrestling business works, and as they were working through a learning curve as related to booking, which is what Tony Khan is suffering through right now at AEW, the WWE product would go from being on its way to becoming high quality under Triple H to absolute garbage under the new owners, because they would go out here and possibly gut the women's division. They would go out here and get rid of women like Sonya Deville, who are a part of the Alphabet community, and people like Sami Zayn. So that's the thing that many people are upset about, because they see that the product at WWE is the best it's been in years, because I haven't seen it be this good since the Ruthless Aggression era. Triple H made some very good moves, and all of that is scuttled, and this is possibly why Stephanie McMahon wound up resigning as CEO, because Vince betrayed the family. Because again, WWE, when it was WWF, was a family business under Vince McMahon Sr., and Vince McMahon Sr. trusted his son to go out here and keep the business in the family. And Vince McMahon Sr. passed it on to his son, hoping that he would pass it on either to Shane or Stephanie and make sure that the business stayed in the family, because in order for a business to truly be great, it has to be passed on to the family, because legacy is extremely important, because legacy just isn't genetics. Legacy are the values that are passed down from generation to generation, and that's part of what makes the craft of the wrestling business important, is that you have legacies being passed from generation to generation. Each generation is teaching the next generation about sports entertainment, why it's important, and that again answers the critical question: why should we care? People care about wrestling because it's a family business, and it's passed on from generation to generation. And that was one of the things that Ted Turner truly understood about WCW back in the day. And that's why WCW thrived under Ted Turner, because he also understood the wrestling business, as he called it, because he had a passion for the wrestling business, and that's why he put it on TV, on Superstation TBS, and let it to be competition for Vince McMahon, because that competition made Vince step up. And when the NWO came along, that's why we got the Attitude Era, because if we had the monopoly that Vince McMahon created, it just basically sucked the life out of things creatively. But when I look at Vince McMahon, again, what he's participating is the same selfish baby boomer behavior, because baby boomers, when they're out here, they don't care about anybody but themselves. And a lot of times they have this mindset again of, I've got mine, screw you. Vince wants to get his money right off in the sunset, and he wants to spite Triple H and Stephanie. And what he wants to do is go out here and screw them over, not understanding you're screwing over an entire generation who will never know why sports entertainment was fun, like I did when I was 11 years old and I first discovered wrestling through Hulkamania and watched WWF Superstars and Saturday Night's Main Event. He's denying a future generation that opportunity, because the product that will be created under the Saudi ownership, if this sale is or what they say it's alleged, will be a complete disaster for this business. Because again, when you have people who don't know the business, they don't understand why it's important. It's just another asset to them. And even if they sold it to Disney or one of these other companies, it would hurt WWE, and the product would be ruined, because Disney definitely would make it very social justice. And the best hands for WWE were Stephanie McMahon and Triple H, but Vince can't trust his own children, because baby boomers don't trust anyone, because they've been given everything, and because they've been given everything, they don't appreciate what's been provided for them, and because they don't appreciate anybody who provided anything for them, they go out here and they look to keep everything in their name, and they want to make sure people remember their name by going out here and keeping anybody from building on what they've established. And again, that's a very selfish notion, because if people can't build on what you've established, then there's no way for people to understand why what you did is important, and eventually what you built will be forgotten as others go out here and build and tear down what you tried to cement as being the standard. Now, I love wrestling so much that I went out here and wrote an ISIS series story, ISIS the Main Event, as a tribute to my love for pro wrestling. And if you want to check out that story, ISIS the Main Event, you can find it on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. And if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can read it for free. And if you want to see me make more videos about wrestling, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, ISIS Legacy. The sorority secrets of the goddess next door are revealed in this all-new ISIS series adventure. Get ISIS Legacy in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere.